Hello and welcome to Insurance Mantra, your weekly guide to understanding the world of insurance, only on ET Now. In today's Leadership Insights segment, we focus on a critical pillar of India's health insurance ecosystem, third-party administrator, or we say TPAs, and their expanding role as India moves toward insurance for all. A recent report by MediAssist and BCG highlights that nearly 8,000 to 10,000 crore in claim payout leak every year due to fraud, waste and abuse, raising serious questions about trust, transparency and sustainability. To share insights on these critical issues, I am joined by Satish Gidugu, CEO of MediAssist Group. Satish, welcome to Insurance Mantra. It's a great to have you with us today. Satish, I just want to ask you, as India moves toward insurance for all, how will the role of TPAs evolve over the next decade?
Thank you so much for having me here. It's a pleasure, and thank you for the question. So typically, TPAs in the past were originally, when they set up, they were very focused on claims, right? I think as you move forward, we will have to move from processes to more benefit administrators, right? And send the entire healthcare experience. How do you create a network? How do you make sure that the access to network and the claims is predictable, seamless, transparent for every insured Indian? And of course, we will have to move towards an AI-led, interoperable India-scale infrastructure, because India is a subcontinent. The kind of population we have, we will need to power, touchless, real-time claims using AI integration with Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission and HCX, so that we have scalable and interoperable systems that support insurance for all. Last but not the least, we also have to become guardians of trust, quality, and financial sustainability, right? Which means we need to have better fraud analytics, better insights into waste and abuse and performance of providers, better tariff governance. And more importantly, we have to remain neutral, because finally we are at the middle of the transaction, helping both the insurers and the providers. And for us to become the data-driven backbone that aligns both the parties is very important for the overall sustainability.
My next question to you, Satish, is that your recent report with BCG highlights that 8,000 to 10,000 crore in claim payout leak annually due to fraud, waste and abuse. What are the biggest sources of these leakages, and how can AI-led prevention, detection and deterrence significantly reduce it? So what are your thoughts? Because it's a 8 to 10,000 crore, it's a very big amount.
Thank you for that. So we talk about three aspects, right? Like fraud, waste, and abuse, right? Fraud obviously is intentional deception or misrepresentation for financial gain. And of course, waste is when you have things that could have been avoided, right? But resulting in cost. Maybe the patient has to stay back over a weekend because the discharge process, was not available. And abuse is when we ask, when we overcharge, when we overdo items, right? There are tests that we are doing that are not needed, and so on. So it's our estimate that across the fraud, waste, and abuse, this is the kind of leakages that are happening annually today. Of course, the biggest sources of the leakage is on the intentional fraud side. Clearly, it is where there's misrepresentation. People are not there on the bed, but the claim documents are getting created, or hospitals that don't fit the criteria, or potentially generating claims. That fraud is a significant source of the leakage. On the other, more importantly, on the abuse side of it, like non-standardized billing and coding, or overutilization of procedures, or we've agreed for one all-inclusive rate, but they're getting billed as separate items. And lastly, lots of inconsistencies in the treatment and the protocols. So these are some of the sources of the leakage.
The report recommends a unified national code book and real-time data exchange through Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission and National Claim Exchange. So how crucial are these infrastructure reforms for improving trust, transparency and sustainability in India's health insurance ecosystem? Satish, if you can share your thoughts.
We are a very strong believer that there has to be a single source of truth. just if you allow me for a 30-second digression, like for example, in an airline, everybody knows what an aisle seat is, what a window seat is, what is business class, what is economy, and what cancellation is, what reservation is, right? So do we understand in trains, even in e-commerce. But when it comes to hospital billing today, the bills are so different for the same procedure across different hospitals, right? They don't have the same line item names. They don't have the same terminology. Discharge summaries are not standardized. So there is nothing that you can figure out by looking at three bills from three different hospitals for the same treatment in terms of what was actually done, what were they charging for, and how much was charged for what, right? I think our fundamental belief is that we need a single source of truth and everybody should speak the same language. Of course, we call that the national code book, so that we eliminate this variation in the way the terminology, tariffs, and procedures happen, and so that it removes any ambiguity, reduces disputes between insurers, TPAs, and the hospitals. And of course, once you have standardized this, there also has to be a standardized way of sending information to each other. For example, in the financial world, you have the XBRL version of financials and the results that you upload to various forms. And you have a common size things like a Form 16, where without knowing everything about who you are as an employee and what you do, we're still able to sort of figure out a company's financials and the individual's financials, right? So we need also common exchange formats, which is the space of problems that National Health Claims Exchange and the overall Ayushman Bharat digital mission are trying to solve, so that you have one, paperless, and two, instantly understandable common format like of the exchange. And we believe that these two are super critical if you want to improve trust, reduce leakage, and also drive faster claims experience.
Satish, just want to understand from you, how do you foresee common empanelment changing the relationship between insurers and hospitals?
I think we've come a long way from what used to be a predominantly a cash-based payments and mostly reimbursements. Today, as MediAssist, we are proud to say that 70% of our inpatient claims today by volume are already cashless, and nearly 40-45% of our even outpatient claims today are cashless today, right? Clearly, cashless is the way to go for the entire country, and also in line with government's whole digital initiative. So it is no longer a case where insurers can say, I don't want to work with hospitals, and hospitals can say, I don't want to be part of a credit framework. It's like a retail shop saying that I will not accept credit cards, right? That is no longer an option. Given that there is a significant customer demand for both the parties to work together, and then there is a better understanding of each other's capabilities and limitations, we believe that, like we spoke about, standardization, transparency, and predictability, and we should bring that. And secondly, given the historical way of onboarding and empaneling hospitals, each insurer had to sign a contract, right? Each insurer had to negotiate a tariff. Each insurer had to set up a set of a framework of rules. We believe that some activities, right, especially if a hospital is on the network, ideally it should be available to all the insurers and the TPAs as a network hospital without the administrative and the paper overhead. And we think bringing all of these things together will substantially simplify the administrative overheads of this entire industry.
Satish, hospitals often complain about slow cashless approvals while insurers point to inflated billings. How can a TPA like MediAssist or how TPA can bridge this gap?
So that's a great question. Thank you. I think that's an area where we spend personally as MediAssist as a lot of time. One of the things that we addressed was to bring some amount of standardization, albeit at our side. So we today digitize 100% of the bills that are coming from the hospitals, and we are able to common size those bills into a common language across tens of thousands of hospitals, right? At the same time, we've digitized hundreds of variations of the policy terms and conditions. Often, if you and I buy two different policies, for the same treatment, we get different kinds of amounts because our policies have lots of ifs and buts and finer conditions and cappings, waiting periods, room limits. And we've digitized a lot of that data. So we are using both of this to build a platform where we are providing the transparency on both sides. We are able to go back to the insurer and say, here is how the policy terms and conditions apply to you, every line item in the bill. Here are the line items of the bill that we believe are overpriced or overcharged. Here is where the tariff adherence is 100%, right? And similarly, we're going back to the hospitals and saying, listen, at the time of discharge, when we give you a discharge letter, it is not going to be a guesswork, right? We will do everything and then get to the second decimal point, what the insurer will pay, what you need to collect from the patient, what you will need to pay as discount. And we will strive very hard, one, to make sure your payments happen on time, and two, there are no further surprises from an insurance payout perspective. We took these two as our core objectives to drive that transparency, and we're pretty proud of the kind of work that we've done. And lastly, we said, now that we are solving this transparency issue, how do we get the members to get benefited from this level of integration we're building with the insurers and the hospitals? And this is where we came up with Navigator and Prime. One, for the members to first understand what their out-of-pocket will be even before they walk into a hospital. And two, for the members to walk out of the hospital even before the bills are generated, so that hospital can actually focus on what they're good at, right? Which is delivering care, but not delivering paperwork to the real-time paperwork coordination with the insurer. So they're able to let patients walk out of the hospital even before the bills are generated based on our estimates, and then do an offline process of working with insurers.
Certainly. And so now I'll move to our last leg, rapid fire question, Satish. And my first question is one word to describe the future of health claims in India.
It's not a word, it's a phrase for us: sustainable benefits and effortless experience.
Next one is artificial intelligence in health insurance, game changer or overhyped?
Absolutely a game changer.
Biggest myth about health insurance?
That claims are complex.
One thing hospitals must improve immediately. What are your thoughts?
Standardization of documentation and timely submission.
The next one is one thing insurer must change urgently.
Do a much better job of explaining benefits and allowing people to buy the benefits properly.
Satish, one thing TPA must do better.
Significantly focus on enhancing member experience while combating fraud and errors.
The most common mistake customers make during the claims?
Not knowing what documents to submit and submitting incorrect or incomplete documents.
Fraud, waste, abuse. Which one is the hardest to detect?
Complex fraud and complex abuse. The easy ones are already solved.
Thank you, Satish, for joining our Insurance Mantra and sharing your insights. Time for a short break. After the break, we'll be joined by Gaurav Dubey, founder and CEO of Livelong 365, a health tech platform. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.